Oh, it is a Wednesday, windy Wednesday, I might add, on Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. It is going to be a fabulous day of all sorts of Wednesday weather trivia, guests, and headlines. Oh, it's going to be a great afternoon. Thanks for being here with me. I'm Bridgette Readel, Ag Director for the Flag Family Media as well as WDAY Radio. Okay, so first things first. I have a guest host and a guest all rolled into one, and she's a familiar voice. Emma Gullicks has joined us in the past. We think this is what, your fourth time maybe?
I think so, if I'm counting right.
You have been assistant ag director for me a couple of times.
Yep.
And I think I even had you sit in for me once or twice.
Yeah, I think once over this last summer, I think so.
Yeah, so
Yep.
Emma's been my sub. Yeah, she's the person that when I text her and say, so what are you doing? Your first thought should be run.
No, I always enjoy hearing from you, so thanks for having me today.
All right, introduce yourself for those who might just be tuning in and wondering who your voice is.
Yep, so I'm Emma Gullicks. I'm originally from Galesburg, North Dakota, but I go to school here at NDSU. I'm a junior this year studying crop and weed science with an ag business minor. So planning on going into agronomy after school's done. So, yep.
Did you tell your dad to listen today? Because he was the one that told me to call you about what you'd recently done, why you should be a guest.
He did tell me that. I texted him after you texted me. I was like, hey, guess what? Bridgette just asked me to be on for the whole show, so you better tune in right away.
That's right, Dad. You better pay attention. Yes, so it worked out great. I had planned to have you in for a guest today. You got here early, so we're just going to do the whole show together.
Sounds good.
Now, the reason I asked you to be here is because of a trip you've recently taken. And we don't want to give it all away yet, but give us a little hint.
Okay, so yep, over spring break through NDSU, I went over to France for a study abroad, they call it. I was there for 10 days, and we kind of did a lot in the ag economics side of things, so different markets, different operations, and obviously we took in a lot of the tourist stuff too, right in Paris, but we made our way around. And by the time we had to make it back to Paris, we were about a 5-hour bus ride away when we were down in Lyon. So got to see a lot of the countryside and a lot of the big city too while we were there.
When I went on spring breaks, when I was in school, it was either I went to work. One year I got to go to Dickinson. I feel like our spring break were different, Emma.
Oh, yeah. This is actually the first year I've done anything. I can remember, I think my freshman year, I just went home or whatever and just spent the time at home. But so I was excited to kind of get out there. And I mean, I've never traveled abroad before, so definitely a new experience. But we had a really fun group. We had 26 kids go with us with 2 advisors. So it was a lot of fun. And
as college students, you are a lot less concerning than, say, tracking down 14 high school kids.
Yeah.
14-year-old high schools. I would say you get in your own brand of trouble or not. You might have been really good.
Well, we were pretty good, I would say. Maybe some things that could be left in France, but I think we were pretty good for the most part.
That's totally fine. This is not the National Enquirer for ag. It's okay. We don't have to tell everything, but I'm glad you had a good trip.
Yes.
And we're going to talk more about that. Also, because we're going to talk about that, it's really a great opportunity to watch the live stream today. And our live stream is brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities. If you want to follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Acres TV, Emma brought us pictures of her trip through France, looking at agriculture from the business perspective, the producer perspective, and certainly from a consumer, because that's what you were doing there, right?
Yes, for sure.
So if you want to make sure that you tune in so you can see those pictures, again, a big thank you to Lighthouse Commodities for doing that for us. We greatly appreciate that. If you have questions throughout today, whether it has to do with the weather, and we're going to play Wednesday weather trivia, and also questions that you might have for Emma, you can call us on the JLA Insurance phone line. Keep that handy of 701-293-9000. And I'm keeping an eye on my email. Oh, wait, better open up my phone so I can see those emails coming in. And you can reach me. My email is ag@flagfamily.com. Thank you to Superior Grain Equipment for powering my email. And they not only help me out, but they make sure that your farm's future is secure with Superior Grain Storage, Drying, and Handling Solutions. Let's take a little check of the weather if we could, see what's coming at us. Okay, I don't know about you, Emma. Did you wake up to rain this morning?
I did, yeah. I looked out my window and I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Well, and okay, especially after 15 inches of rain at of snow at my house
Yep.
on Saturday. I felt like this was a little overkill.
Yeah, a little bit. It's pretty gloomy out this morning, but it's pretty nice out there now. I mean, when I came in, a little windy, but the sun's at least out.
I appreciate some sunshine. And okay, I talked about this on the morning shows today. This is a little early for you. You're not quite old enough. You're a college student. You're not quite old enough for this. But for those of us who were here in April of 1997, so ask your parents where they were.
Okay.
This felt a little weird in the fact that we had all this snow on the ground. We didn't get the ice storm that 97 brought us, and then it rained on top of it. And granted, there's a whole lot less snow, ice, and rain than what we had going on in 97, but there were some moments that brought some flashbacks to flooding, bagging sandbags. I mean, that was a lot happening that April.
I believe it. I believe it.
In fact, I was talking to a gal this morning, and she said, I remember this day very, very well when that did all happen. She said, my mom was remarrying on April 5th. And by the time we tried to get back home, our house had been flooded.
Oh, my goodness.
So we're not there right now,
Yep.
but there are moments. And another conversation I had with a farmer in Western Cass County this morning just said, is it too early to be panicked that we're almost too wet for some fields? Now, I know you're from the Hope area,
Yep.
Page. Have you heard that comment from anybody or any other fellow students? They're like, this feels like it's going to be tough to get some planting done.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really heard much, I guess, but I mean, with that snow and even here, like it melted a lot quicker back home. Like were almost pretty much bare by the time I left to come back Monday. So I got back here and I was like, jeepers, like, did we get like that much more snow or like what? I don't know. But I think it definitely could raise some concerns. I mean, being we're already, early April now, so.
I don't want to start the rumor mill and using that word preventive plant, right? But that's certainly always a thought. And for those who aren't familiar, preventive plant means that you literally can't get in the field. You cannot get the crop planted. That's a form of crop insurance that you could use.
Yep.
I think it's a little too soon to tell. I think that Dean giving us a reminder that next week, Thursday on the 16th, is our long range weather special where we're going to visit with Gary Lesak and we're going to talk about what will be happening with the weather for the next 3 to 6 months. And that's probably going to be pretty helpful to all of us. It's a little too soon. I haven't formed my opinion yet. How's that?
Yeah, that's a good answer, I would say.
But I don't want anybody giddy about rain at the 1st of May. Maybe you should be giddy if it's in Nebraska, but you shouldn't be giddy if it's here.
Right.
Oh, all right. So that's just some of the things we're going to be giddy about. Next up, we're going to start visiting with Emma about her trip to France, and we're going to talk about agriculture in Europe. Additionally, keep your fingers ready to dial because when we have Wednesday weather trivia, you're going to need to call us on the JLA insurance phone line of 701-293-9000. But meanwhile, keep an eye out on a really nice day outside and stay tuned. After the livestock market update, we'll be back. We'll hear from the American Ag Network first. If you have not yet had a chance to do your fence check assessment at techsupport.farm, today could be your day. Go ahead, take a look. Is your cybersecurity for your farm and agribusiness where it needs to be? Do you have adequate password protection? Perhaps you need to have 2 different routers because sometimes maybe there should be a separate household versus business. You don't want anybody poking around in your private security business, especially with this time of the year where we're doing a lot more work with our bankers and our insurance agents, and we're transferring information and we're doing taxes. And so make sure that stuff is all safe. And you can do that by going to check things out at techsupport.farm or just give Chris Sherman a call over there and he'd be happy to answer your questions. My guest / co-host today is our returning assistant ag director, Emma Gullicks. And okay, Emma Gullicks. I didn't want to add an N there. I was just trying to say and.
Yep.
Okay. So Emma, describe how you wound up doing this trip. Is this something that happens frequently for a study abroad over spring break with NDSU? Just give us a little bit of background on the program.
So yeah, every spring semester, NDSU does quite a few different study abroad programs. They do ones for full semesters too, all throughout the year, like spring, summer, and fall. So they put a lot of like posters up and send out emails and stuff. And this one was through the College of Business. So one of the advisors was Jen, and she has done a lot of these trips before. So I don't remember if I heard about it through friends or if I heard about it through a poster, and she had some information meetings. So me and one of my friends went to one and we're like, well, this sounds like kind of fun. So you have to submit your application pretty early. I think it was like November.
Ooh, you better be planning ahead.
So you kind of got to plan ahead, but I mean, and I had heard good things from people who had went previously, and some of the students who had went last year, they went down to Argentina, also came this year, and they said they had a lot of fun. So I mean, I think word of mouth is actually a really big contributor to this because you hear from friends. So
and the trip is the study abroad program is going to different countries every year.
Yes, yeah, every year. Like this year, there was trips to like I think Greece, France. I can't even think of all of them, but there's like multiple that go on with like different kind of disciplines. Like we had people from a lot of different majors go on ours, like business, marketing, me being in crop and weed. There was a big mix of people that went, but I think that made it a lot more fun too. You got to talk to a lot of different people from a lot of different areas. So
and the questions you asked would have been rather variable.
Yes, yeah, for sure. When we were, I mean, everyone always like is coming into experience with different perspective, different backgrounds, and some people maybe don't know as much, some people know a lot more. So that made it kind of fun too, because something that someone else asks maybe is something you would never even consider when you're going around touring with people.
So as you toured France, farms were a part of what you saw.
Yep.
What types of farms? I mean, I feel like they're probably a little more narrow focused, whereas we may have a whole lot of livestock and a whole lot of grain on our operations, but they maybe only have a dairy or they may only have grain. What did it look like for farms?
Yeah, so we toured one beef operation, and they had about 300 head, which he said was huge for over there.
Really?
Apparently it's normally like 50 to 80 head.
Okay, I got a lot of questions here.
Okay.
What breed?
I actually had to pull it up. So it's called a blonde Aquitaine.
Really?
Maybe.
Okay.
It's actually a hybrid of 3 other breeds. So it's very specialty because the meat is so extremely lean. Like they have almost no fat on them.
Wow.
It's very interesting. Yeah, they were all of them had horns, so like not pulled like a lot of cows are here.
Yep.
That's the only breed they had. That's what they specialized in. So it was kind of interesting to hear about that and kind of walk through their operation.
Pasture or confinement?
They are normally on pasture. When we were over there, it was more they considered it their winter. Like it was pretty nice when we were over there. Like there's no snow. It's
you
pretty
came
green.
from North Dakota, hun.
Exactly.
I get it.
But so when we were there, they were on feed. They were just on hay. And so that was kind of interesting. But he's like, yeah, they're usually out to pasture most of the year, which is
okay. So was it bred cattle? Was it cow-calf pairs? Did they give you an indication like when their calving cycle happens?
I want when we were over there, they had a lot of calves, so I wonder if it's probably February.
Okay, that
maybe?
makes sense.
I
They're a
would
little
guess.
south, a little
Yep.
warmer. Okay.
So, yeah.
Did they talk about, the European Union, and I think we'll probably mention this multiple times throughout today. European Union is incredibly conscientious about wanting to reduce the amount of livestock operations that they have. In fact, there's not a lot of pro agriculture happening over there right now.
Mhm.
Was the farm you were on, were they taking their manure and using that in conjunction with some crops they were raising? Did they talk about that, or did they have an agreement with a grain farmer down the road in order to stay away from commercial fertilizers?
That I am not sure.
Okay.
I'm assuming they probably do use the manure. It seems like
it would be a nice
seems
fit.
like it would be a good fit for them. I know they did talk about a lot of their concerns with lab grown meat over there. That was definitely it was a topic we talked about and kind of got into more questions about it just because like it was interesting to us. There's some animal science people who kind of knew more than I did about it, but I guess it's a pretty big concern over there. So like advocating for their beef is like kind of one of their priorities.
So when you say there's concerns about lab grown meat, was that a concern from the beef producer or is it a concern from the consumer?
I would say a concern for the producer. Like he was personally concerned about it because I mean, if there is a shift to that over there on the consumer standpoint, that's obviously going to very much affect him and his production and like that's his livelihood over there. It's interesting to hear about that because there was just kind of not a lot known about the lab grown meat over there, it sounds like. And it's kind of a new thing over there. So kind of interesting that, I mean, there was kind of a push for that here too, but.
There was. And that, when it comes to the lab grown, that has really quieted down as of right now. There's a real ick factor that a lot of people here in the United States have in regards to that. They would, consumer surveys tell us that the normal consumer, I shouldn't say normal, but the average consumer would prefer to buy lower quality beef than go to a lab grown.
Mm-hmm.
Now, plant-based meats, a lot of times they're okay with, right? Because we're still using maybe peas or lentils or something that you have in the agronomy world.
Right, yep.
So I think there's some very big differences of what everybody's looking for in their type and quality.
Yes, so that was kind of interesting to hear about that. And someone kind of mentioned that too. They were like, do you think, like, we had a similar thing, but it's kind of died down. Like, do you think that's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of like, well, like.
This was your farmer talking?
Yep.
Okay.
The producer. So we had a translator with us, and he kind of said there's just a lot that's unknown over there. So it is kind of concerning to them because they just don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
And I mean, people are going to, as a consumer, like people are going to pick things that they want. And I guess there's not really control over that. But just educating people on the production side, I think, is probably a big thing for them.
It's very interesting. He's a 300 head herd. And he's considered very large.
Very, yes.
And so, how many do they have to support their own industry, right? I mean, how many guys do you need that are producing 300 head?
Right, exactly.
A lot?
Yeah.
Because I can think of a whole lot of 500 head guys over here, and that's pretty average.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And I don't just mean guys. We have a lot of women that are first-generation cattle owners and starting their own herds and production. Mm-hmm. Well, when we come back, Emma, let's do Wednesday weather trivia. Notice I haven't asked the question. We don't all have to call yet. But when we come back, we're going to ask the question. We're going to get you ready to call in on the JLA Insurance phone line. And we will continue our visit about what's going on in agriculture in France with my co-host today, Emma Gullicks.
Sounds good.
I so appreciate it when folks send in their questions and their comments. And this one came in through my email address, which again is ag@flagfamily.com. And that account is sponsored by Superior Grain Equipment. And I think this fits right into our conversation, Emma. This comment is lab grown beef or plant based beef is not beef, and it should not be called either meat nor beef. The same way with any fake pre-made sugar or milk. Note there is no such thing as almond milk. Did you see a lot of labeling situations, or what did that look like over there?
Yeah, so not really on that wavelength, but in France, they take production of a lot of their foods like very seriously, especially I would say they did have for meat, like poultry is a big one over there. They have special labeling for that depending on what region it comes from in France, and they have to meet a lot of regulations to get these labels approved.
Okay.
We also talked about kind of place-based marketing with say things like champagne and cheeses over there. Like champagne, cheese, and wine are some of the big things over there that have labels like, I think it was AOP and AOC were two of the labels, and a lot of the regulations are where the products and where the production occurs. So like champagne, for instance, can only come from a certain region in France. It can't be labeled champagne anywhere if it comes from anywhere else. And a lot of times that means the bottles are made there, the grapes come from that area, production happens in that area. It's very, they take it very seriously over there, which I found really interesting. And a lot of the labels, after we learned about it, a lot of the markets we were in, I would say they were not farmers markets, but in a way kind of, but they were also their grocery stores too. It was kind of interesting. And you could see those labels all over. So that was kind of cool to learn about. And just very interesting how seriously they take it. And, I mean, they put a lot of, they have a lot of pride in their production that they do. I know we went to, a small cheese farm, and they made brie cheese, which was, delicious. The cheese over there was so good. And they actually do a lot more soft cheeses, I would say, over there. And you can't bring them back, unfortunately, because they use unpasteurized milk.
Right.
So that's kind of a big thing over there, too. And it was just very interesting to hear, because that one, again, we had a translator, but that was a family operation. It was just a small factory, but it was really cool to see that side of it, too.
I think you make a great point. The reason we don't bring those things back over here is because, especially with unpasteurized milk, there's the potential for some sort of bacteria or fungus, et cetera, to come with it.
Yep.
We try to block that the same way that we don't want hoof and mouth disease to come into the country. I'm going to need to ask you a question about that here in a minute.
Okay.
Then additionally, I do think that our listener, that was a worthwhile comment. So I need to practice training myself to call it plant-based protein or lab-based protein. Because I do agree. I don't think it's meat.
I would agree too, yeah.
I don't necessarily knock the plant-based stuff as much because I know that we're raising the lentils, the peas, other items that are in it in this region. But the lab-grown stuff, I'm out of there. Okay, so we've got a photo to talk about in our live stream. And while Emma and I are doing that, I'm going to give our board operator a little bit of work today. And I'm going to announce our Wednesday weather trivia. This is brought to us by Darter Plastics. It is a winning proposition. When you are the winner, you have the opportunity to take home one of the Darter Plastics personal bait ups. So they look like great big, like your water mug right over there. Okay. So it looks like that, except the ends open on either side, and you can put fresh water in there. You keep your minnows in it, and you can actually pull up a little strainer inside, so you don't have to reach into the minnow bucket to get your minnows out. It's a pretty cool deal. So thank you to Darter Plastics for that personalized bait up. Our Wednesday weather trivia question is this, and again, call us on the JLA Insurance phone line. North Dakota is known for being one of the sunnier states in the upper Midwest. How many days do we average that are sunny or mostly sunny days per year? Again, how many days in North Dakota do we average being sunny or mostly sunny days? Again, you can give us a call, JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. While that trivia question rolls around out there, Emma, let's look at that photo that's on the live stream. And it looks to be that's a meat case in a grocery store that you were at. Tell us about that.
Yep. So this was definitely at one of the markets. We actually went to a huge wholesale market called Rangi Market, but this was at a smaller, more localized one that we went to. And just they display everything so nicely over there. Like, if you look at this, it's like, oh,
That's pretty.
it just makes you want to buy everything. They really know how to market their products, I think. But
They do.
you had cases of this. You had big cases with cheese, desserts, everything you could imagine. Fruits and veggies, just very nicely put together. And, like, on those place cards you see up there, I can almost guarantee you every single one says where the slab of meat comes from, either if it's from France or outside of France.
Wow, that's fantastic. I am so impressed with, like you talked about, the labeling that they are doing and the display of what they are showing off. Again, this is reason to watch that live stream brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities. Again, you can pick us up on Facebook, Acres TV, and YouTube. Hopefully we've got a winner. I see the phone line lighting up to answer our Wednesday weather trivia brought to us by Darter Plastics. And my question is, because North Dakota is one of the sunnier states in the upper Midwest, we are averaging quite a high number of sunny or mostly sunny days per year. What number do you think that is? So we'll see if we get a winner, Emma. Do you want to guess on that? I know you know the answer.
I do. And
were you
it's
surprised?
Way higher than I thought it was going to be, personally. I mean,
okay,
maybe not way, but it's pretty high.
I thought it was pretty high. Mm-hmm. So that's going to give everybody something to think about. Once we get our winner to and all of that paperwork, so to speak, taken care of, we'll continue to look at those photos in the live stream. You mentioned that it's not just, say, meats and cheeses, but even desserts and so forth have some labeling to them.
I guess the desserts maybe not as much, because I think a lot of those are just, made right
there
and come from a specific company.
Okay.
From what I know, I guess, about it.
Okay.
And it was kind of interesting since they said, like, the Easter season over there. I mean, we were there early to mid-March. We were there the 5th through the 15th. And, like, these chocolate stores you would go into, they would have, like, beautifully crafted, like, masterpieces of chocolate. Like,
nice.
Just everywhere you went, it was just so cool to see. And, of course, everything was super delicious over there. Everything we tried was really good.
Well, as our photos start to catch up, let's talk about some of the other things. Oh, wait, I should say we do indeed have a winner for our Wednesday weather trivia contest. Steve H. won our contest today. He will be stopping by the studio to get his personal bait up from Darter Plastics. And the answer to that was, because North Dakota, known for being one of the sunnier states in the upper Midwest, we have on average over 200 days that are sunny or mostly sunny. I'm surprised, too. I didn't think it was quite that much.
I didn't think it would be quite that high.
Maybe it's because we're just coming out of winter.
Maybe, yeah. We're not quite used to the sun yet.
No one is used to that blinding thing in the sky. Right. So, okay. So, as pictures start to come into our live stream, we'll be able to talk about those as we see them. When you talked about labeling, and do you feel like that's something you would want to see coming to you as a consumer here in the U.S. is better labeling? Because we're currently, USDA is rolling out a voluntary labeling project amongst all agricultural products. So how does that impact you when you go to shop?
I found it very interesting. I just think the consumer, like, kind of has, not the right, I guess, but kind of to know where their food is coming from. And I mean, a lot of people everywhere, I guess, like, there is that disconnect with egg, just because if you don't grow up around it, or you're not associated with people, like, a lot of people go to the grocery store and that's where they think they get milk. Like,
There's
I think
more to it.
There is a lot more to it that people don't realize, and I think that maybe could be a step in, like, oh, this came from this place. Like, it connects it back to where it came from, and it connects it back to agriculture and the people who are out there producing and growing these things. So I think it was very interesting, and it would be kind of cool to see that over here.
So it's easy for us to talk about things that were in the grocery store, beef, and so much more. But you're majoring in crop and weed science.
Yep.
Okay, so from the agronomy perspective, what did you see in France?
So we didn't do a lot on, like, the production side, but kind of the area we were in, they do a lot of, do they call them cereals, I think? So
yes.
They do a lot of
they
small
call cereals.
grains.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were actually on a charter bus when we were going between towns and stuff. And I was looking out the window and I was like, what is that? Like, it really looks like canola. And a lot of it hadn't bloomed when we went down, but a lot of it was blooming coming back. And so I asked our tour guide who was with us, and I was like, is this canola? And he was like, oh, I don't know what that is because they call it rapeseed over
Oh,
there,
of course.
which is interesting.
Yes.
So and he's like, "Yep, that's what it is." And so I asked him, I was like, "Okay, so it's blooming in early March, right? Like when do you harvest it?" And he goes, "Yeah, not till September," which I just found
every canola grower just hid their eyes.
so crazy because it's like over here, you get it in the ground. Well, they must, I don't know. Yeah, if it's blooming there in March,
Yep.
they have just an extended growing season.
Yes.
And that they don't like push a lot of things with fertilizers and like chemical applications. It sounds like over there, they definitely take much more of like a laid back, like naturally let everything do
what it has to
do what it has to do. And I mean, it's just interesting. Like that's the lifestyle in the city too, and it kind of it bleeds over into agriculture too. It just seems like everything's a lot more slow paced, and they kind of just they let things naturally.
They just roll with it.
Yeah.
Here we're pretty like, let's go, let's get this done. I mean, there's guys that are wondering if they can plant at the end of the week right now.
Right.
So I know what you're saying.
Exactly.
So one more of your photos is now on our live stream, brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities. What are we looking at here?
So this was inside a big basilica church when we were in Lyon. It was insanely beautiful. It was just gorgeous. A huge church, and all that like detailing on the ceiling you can see. Like it looks like painting, but it's all mosaic tile.
Oh wow.
Very intricate, and just you walk in and it's like, oh my goodness, like it's so breathtaking. And this was like every place we went to, they had just the incredible like detail over there, and every architecture. It's very incredible to see. So that was very cool.
So we're looking at a basilica, which of course is centuries old. They're all gorgeous.
Yep.
When you look at the farms, were they as meticulously kept? Were they certainly going to be on a smaller scale versus what you see for most farmyards here?
Yeah, definitely. I guess we stopped at that beef operation, and then we did a couple like cheese factory tours, and like definitely a lot more small scale. Like I said, that guy said his herd is huge with 300 heads. So I just think they not value, but they just like take everything.
Their priorities are different.
Yeah, their priorities are different. And I think they just find that balance where it works for them and they can still support themselves. But they definitely are very intentional with their work.
So the students in your group who had been to Argentina last year and now this year went to France, did they make any comparisons of what the agriculture was like between the two places?
Not that I can like totally remember, I guess.
Okay. So that look, there now we've got a homework assignment for those kids.
Yeah. There you go. I know, I think, and they also had a lot smaller groups, so they said like it definitely was a different experience, but I think you go to like that's two totally different
totally
ends
systems
of the
of
spectrum.
Yeah.
So I think that would be kind of interesting to hear about.
Well, we will continue some of this discussion. We'll probably get to a couple more photos as well. And we've got some headlines that we want to visit about and a little check of the weather when we return. As we watch this weather launch into something even better, well, hopefully we enjoy a really great weekend, maybe even the chance to be into the 60s by Sunday. And that 200 plus days that are so sunny, we're going to have a bunch of them starting out tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and so much more. So look for those highs into the 50s, maybe up to 70 on Sunday. I hope you have something great planned that's outdoors this weekend, Emma.
Nothing planned yet, but it sounds like a good weekend to get out and about.
Still time.
There is, yes.
Now, I've mentioned several times that the wildfires that ran through Nebraska left well over 1 million acres that are just torched. We're pasture, hay ground. So much is just destroyed. And one of the things that has come of that is there's something called Pasture Match. And if you are curious, you can always send me an email to my Superior Grain sponsored inbox of ag@flagfamily.com. It's for ranchers helping ranchers, and Nebraska ranchers may need help finding a place for their livestock to go when their pasture land is recovering. So it's a little bit like a dating app. You have pasture land, somebody else has got cattle, and you could go to Pasture Match and you could help find a place to put available space for pasture or feedlot for your animals. So if you are interested in making that connection with some ranchers out of Nebraska, you can go to Pasture Match and get that taken care of. Okay, one of the questions that we wanted to talk about, back to your trip to France over spring break, Emma, talking about what happened in agriculture over there. Biosecurity. You know, we talk about biosecurity here to keep the New World screwworm out, to prevent things like foot and mouth disease coming into our country. Spain has been struggling with some of those livestock diseases. Did you see much for biosecurity going in and out of any of the facilities you were in France?
On the operation we were on, no, not really. They had actually just got over, there was a virus, I believe, over there that did affect a lot of their cattle, but they were kind of in the upswing of it. Like they had got vaccinations and stuff. Can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but when we visited the big Rungi market, we wore lab coats when we were there going through all the facilities and hairnets, especially when going through their poultry and meat and sections like that. So kind of interesting too.
So where's the next country you want to go tour their ag?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've always wanted to go to Ireland. I don't know. That would be super cool to go over there, I think, just kind of see. I don't know. I've just heard a lot of good things about it, and I've wanted to go there. It's kind of on my bucket list, so
all right,
we'll see when I get there.
Something that we can pay attention to.
Yep.
Okay, as we are getting ready for planting, there's a couple of reminders for folks. One of those things is when it gets to our machinery prep, we need to think about what are the wear parts. We've got a little time right now with still some moisture on the ground where we can probably go over those planters pretty closely. When you think about those wear parts, there are some reminders from machinery experts, folks who go out and service and recondition planters throughout the region. They'll come right to you on the farm and get those taken care of. And we know that a lot of farmers are holding their planters longer right now because they don't want to go through the expense of trading equipment, et cetera. So if you're looking at doing some of that, don't forget about your seed tubes. They often get ignored because they're pretty well hidden. But it's important to take those tubes. For those of you who don't know what a seed tube is, essentially it's delivering seed from the bulk containers on the planter down to the soil surface. Tubes are supposed to be straight because if they're not, if they have a kink in them, it actually will cause the seed to ricochet down through the tube, and that can lead to spacing problems, uneven planting conditions, because we're always shooting for that perfect emergence, perfect planting situation. So seed tubes are one of the things that get a little overlooked. Your seed meters, regardless of your meter type, disassemble those, clean all the parts, look for wear. You will likely have to use a spray surface solvent to get rid of some of the buildup on there and get that all cleaned up and running well. And your disc openers. Your disc opener blades usually start at about 15 inches but can wear down to 14 and a half. If that's the case, look at changing those out because sharp disc opener blades add additional even depth control when you're out planting. All right, a few tips and tricks for the planters. One of the other headlines I had, and I know that this is kind of a short notice thing I brought you into today, but was talking about phosphate runoff. Did you have a chance to look through some of those notes, Emma?
Yeah, I kind of looked through some of these notes here you had, and over in, where was it at? Oh, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So they have issues with a lot of phosphorus runoff, and this was talking specifically when applying chicken manure as a fertilizer.
Yeah.
So they were conducting research on a product called Rhizozorb,
Mm-hmm.
which is said to increase phosphorus fertilizer efficiency. It's kind of
That's
a
not
mouthful
easy
there.
to say. I'm just telling you.
Because they had studies that showed phosphorus runoff can be 26 to 53%, which is very concerning because you lay down that fertilizer, you spend that money, and then you lose over half of it. That can be pretty devastating.
Well, I think that fits in with the conversation I had with a grower a little earlier today. It's wet. What if I have to think about a preventive plant?
Mm-hmm.
What if we get to the spring weather outlook special next Thursday on April 16th, and we hear that we get all of our fertilizer applied, then we want to go plant, and it rains and it rains and it rains, and please God, don't let that happen. But you know, you're learning those things right now. How do you make that decision that if you get your fertilizers out there and then you get rained out? That's a whole huge loss this year.
Huge loss, and a lot of it is timing. You know, you try to do the best you can to get it in the right window, but that's not always going to happen, and you can get a lot of leaching or runoff, like this talked more so on that side. But it's just, especially in no-till.
Oh,
so
exactly.
that was another big thing with them, was a lot of runoff because of the no-till after they apply it.
Yep, that chicken litter, and they're in that Delmarva region where they're very cautious about runoff from fields.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, don't forget the weather special next Thursday, because that'll be taking place during the Jay Thomas Show from 2 to 5. But by the way, Jay Thomas is up next. Stay tuned.